The year is 1940. In a small, dimly lit room in Madrid, a man sits alone. He is not a soldier. He is not a diplomat. He is a failed poultry farmer and a struggling hotel manager. Around him, the world is tearing itself apart. The shadow of the swastika stretches across Europe, and the air is thick with the smell of cheap tobacco and the cold realization that the monsters are winning. Juan has no weapons, no secret codes, and no allies, but he has something far more dangerous, a mind that can weave lies so intricate they feel more real than the truth itself. He watches the newsreels in the cinema, seeing the iron march of the Third Reich. Most men would hide, some would collaborate, but Juan Pujol Garcia feels a quiet, burning rage. He decides with a boldness that borders on insanity that he will destroy the Nazi war machine, not with a bomb, but with a pen. He approaches the British embassy, offering his services as a spy. They look at this unassuming Spaniard and see a madman or a nuisance. They show him the door. They tell him to go back to his chickens and his hotel ledgers. Rejection does not stop Juan. It fuels him. If the British won't take him, he will make them need him. He walks into the German intelligence office, the Abwehr. He speaks with such conviction, such feigned hatred for the Allies, that the Germans are mesmerized. They give him a code name, Alaric. They give him invisible ink and a mission. But Juan Pujol Garcia does not go to London. He goes to Portugal. He buys a map of England, a copy of the Blue Guide to British railways, and old newspapers. Sitting in a cramped apartment in Lisbon, hundreds of miles from the English coast, he begins to build a ghost army. He writes letters to his German handlers. He describes the fog of London and the taste of English ale, all gathered from advertisements. He isn't just lying, he is creating a universe. Soon, the Germans believe Alaric has a network of 27 sub-agents. They believe he has a travel agent in Scotland and a wealthy widow in London. Juan is now a professional spy for a country he hates, reporting on a country that doesn't want him from a city he isn't supposed to be in. The tension is unbearable. Every letter he sends is a gamble with his life. The cinematic lens lingers on his trembling hand as he applies the invisible ink. He creates human errors in his reports to make them seem more authentic. He tells the Germans that one of his agents has died, even writing a fake obituary. Eventually, the British intelligence, MI5, begins to notice something strange. They are intercepting German radio messages that refer to a master spy in London named Alaric. When they finally track Juan down in Lisbon, they realize they haven't found a traitor, they've found a genius. They bring him to London, give him the code name Garbo. Now the stage is set. The Allies are preparing for D-Day. The mission for Agent Garbo is simple but impossible. He must convince Hitler the invasion is coming to Pas-de-Calais. He creates the first U.S. Army group, FUSAG, a phantom force. In reality, there are only inflatable tanks and wooden airplanes in a smoke-filled room in London. Day and night, Garbo sends a torrent of information. He plays on the German obsession with order and detail. He has become their eyes and ears, showing them a hallucination. Then comes the ultimate test, June 6, 1944, D-Day.
As the first Allied boots hit the sand in Normandy, the German High Command is in a panic. Is this the main invasion or a diversion? They look to Garbo. At 3 a.m., Garbo sends a high-priority message. He tells them that the Normandy landings are merely a trap designed to draw German reserves away from Pas-de-Calais. He sounds desperate, frustrated that his previous warnings were ignored. It is a masterpiece of psychological manipulation. The effect is devastatingly effective. Hitler, believing Garbo's reports, holds back 2 armored divisions at Pas-de-Calais. They keep their best troops idle, staring at an empty sea, because one man told them a story. The irony of his success reaches a surreal peak. In July 1944, the German government awards Juan Pujol Garcia the Iron Cross for his extraordinary services to the Reich. He is perhaps the only man in history to be decorated by both the Germans and the British. He accepted the German medal, knowing the regime honoring him was crumbling because of his lies. But as the war ends, the man who lived 1,000 lives must disappear. He fakes his own death in Angola, succumbing to a bout of malaria. He vanishes into the humid air of South America. He moves to Venezuela to run a small gift shop and teach English. The world forgets him. For 40 years, he is a ghost among the living, quietly selling postcards and trinkets. His children knew him only as a quiet, eccentric shopkeeper. They had no idea that the man who helped them with their homework had once played a lethal game of chess with Adolf Hitler. In the early 1980s, a British investigative journalist named Nigel West became obsessed with the mysterious Garbo. He began to pull at the threads of a life that shouldn't have existed. His search led him to a phone booth in Caracas. When the voice on the other end answered, he knew he hadn't found a ghost. He had found a king in exile. In 1984, 40 years after D-Day, a small, elderly man with a sharp mind and a humble smile arrived at Buckingham Palace. It was Juan Pujol Garcia. He was no longer a shadow. He walked through the gates as a guest of the crown. When he met Prince Philip, the room fell silent. Here was the man who had conjured an army out of thin air to save the world. He traveled to the beaches of Normandy, the very sands he had protected with his lies. Standing on the cliffs of Armaranche, looking out at the English Channel, Juan wept. He saw the monuments to the fallen and realized the true weight of his performance. He wasn't just an actor, he was a shield. The veterans who shook his hand saw the man who saved them. Juan Pujol Garcia died for the second and final time in 1988 in Caracas. He left behind a legacy that proves the most powerful weapon in any conflict is the human imagination. He was a man who failed at everything until he found a cause worth lying for. Sometimes the most important person isn't the one holding the gun, but the one telling the story. The screen fades to black on a single image, a worn silver iron cross lying next to the Order of the British Empire. 2 medals from 2 bitter enemies earned by one man. This was the ordinary espionage of Juan Pujol Garcia, the actor who had no theater, so he turned the whole world into his stage.